Ladies and gentlemen, hello, this is Debo from Landsego, and we got a really cool deck list that we're going to break down really quickly for you. But before we do, let's see how we did with it first. Well, that was impressive, wasn't it? But we ended up going 8-3 for the evening, and let's take a look at the actual list. We're calling this Mardu Giants. Now, I know we say we're giants, but we do have a few creatures in here that are not giants, but they make sense for why we have them in there. So we're starting out with 4 Robber of the Rich. We've got 2 Kroxa, Titan of Death's Hunger, which is a giant, 3 Heartless Act, 2 Angrath's Rampage, 4 Bonecrusher Giant, 4 Legion Warboss, 4 Crystalline Giant, 3 Bedevil, 2 Mothra Supersonic Queen, Tectonic Giant, 4 copies, 2 copies of Snapdax, and 2 copies of Realm-Cloaked Giant in the main. And then for our lands, we have 2 plains, a swamp, 2 mountains, 3 Godless Shrine, a Temple of Silence, 3 Blood Crypt, a Temple of Malice, 4 Sacred Foundry, 1 Temple of Triumph, 4 Savai Triome, and 2 Fabled Passage. Now, breaking down the actual creatures, the reason why we're running a few of these creatures as non-giants, even though this is a giants list. Robber of the Rich is just a quick, hasty threat that allows us to get in for a lot of damage really early. Maybe helps us find some removal for some of our opponent's creatures. Maybe we can find a Teferi or something like that off the top of our opponent's control deck. And it allows us to just kind of stabilize against our opponents who are trying to play the long game. And also, one of the reasons why we're running this particular card is we want opponents to use their removal on it and not our giants. That's the same reason why we're running Legion Warboss. Legion Warboss is really great against control matchups. It's really great against long game combo matches, something like that. The other reason why we're running this one is because we want our opponent to use the removal on Legion Warboss. Everyone knows how powerful it is. We are running a couple of Kroxa in this list. One, it's a giant, so it works really great with all of our giant synergies. 2, it allows us to have some sort of recurable thing if we're going up against Garuda. It also helps us have some sort of recurable thing main deck against counterspell matchups that we'll be putting it into the graveyard anyways. So it gives us a couple of ways to play with that. It also combos with our 3rd non-giant creature, which is Luminous Broodmoth. So we can play Broodmoth, we can then play Kroxa. Kroxa dies, it comes back with a flying counter, dies again. We get 2 triggers out of 1 cast of it, so that works really well. Luminous Broodmoth also works really well just with the rest of our creatures. None of them have flying, so being able to play this and then the world gets exploded and then we get all of our creatures back feels really, really good to us. Our other creature that we're playing that's not a giant is Snapdax. Now, Snapdax is just a really good, clean answer for us. We can play it for its mutate cost, kill a creature or planeswalker our opponent controls, we gain some life. We also are able to basically give any of our giants double strike, which includes our Realm-Cloaked Giant, so we could have a 7/7 Vigilant double striker, which seems really good. We could put it on our Tectonic Giant to give this thing double strike whenever it attacks, which is really amazing. We can even put it on something like Kroxa, so now Kroxa all of a sudden hits for 12 instead of 6 when it attacks, and not to mention its attack trigger, right? You can even put it on Crystalline Giant, and this could even give us hexproof, so also we would have a 3/3 or maybe a 4/4 with hexproof and double strike. I mean, that's pretty amazing right there. Either way, whenever we're able to cast this for its mutate cost, it feels really good. Not to mention just a 4 mana 3/5 with double strike is also just good value, so that it fits right on our curve and it feels really, really good. Bonecrusher Giant is just acts as really good removal. It's also a giant, and it can also ping our opponent whenever they try to remove it directly. We get to shock them every single time. And then if we have a Mothra out, it comes back with flying, which makes it even more of a formidable threat. Tectonic Giant either is our card advantage for us or it deals additional damage. So we are just throwing the damage at our opponent. And then of course we have our Realm-Cloaked Giant, which is the 7/7 Vigilant, but it can also destroy all non-giant creatures. So we then get to keep all of our giants on the board, and then all of our non-giants can come back if we had a Luminous Broodmoth out on the battlefield. That all feels really, really good. For the rest of our removal, we have 3 Heartless Act. This is really great when we're playing up against creatures that don't have counters on them, or if we need to remove counters, we can do it that way as well. We do have 2 Angrath's Rampage, great way to deal with an artifact, a creature, or a planeswalker an opponent controls. And we also are running 3 Bedevil, which again, another great way, instant speed way, to deal with an artifact, creature, or planeswalker. All in all, the list itself is very, very solid, but let's take a look at the sideboard. For the sideboard, we're running a single copy of Carnival Carnage. This is a great way for us to deal a final point of damage to a planeswalker or a creature. It also is just a good way for us to maybe win the game by forcing our control opponent to discard 2 cards, or if they're at the 3 life or less, it can kill them outright by basically bolting them for 4. We also have 3 Grafdigger's Cage. This is a great fight against Winota, great fight against Gyruda, a great fight against any of the Lurrus graveyard shenanigans that may be out there right now. So there's a lot of place for Grafdigger's Cage right now, and so this is a great place for it. We're running 3 Agonizing Remorse up against control matchups and any of the matchups that may have the Elder Giants, so that way we can put them into exile instead of into the graveyard. 2 Gideon Blackblade can come in to give us a life gain against aggro. It can give us basically just another powerful threat on the board. It's kind of skirts sorcery speed removal, so it's just a good way for us to continually get damage into our control opponents as well. Against life gain strategies, we are running 2 copies of Tibalt. Tibalt is just a great way for us to prevent them from gaining life. It stops the Heliod triggers. Everything like that seems really, really good. We are also running another copy of Luminous Broodmoth, just that way if we're up against, say, a Fires list that cares about blowing up the world quite often, we can bring this one in as just another way of keeping our creatures around for longer. We also are running a single copy of Elspeth Conquers Death. It's a good way for us to bring back something from the graveyard to the battlefield. It's also a good way just to exile, say, a Fires, any of our opponent's planeswalkers that are 3 CMC or more. It's just really, really good on that respect. We are also running a single copy of God-Eternal Oketra. We do have a lot of creatures in this deck, and so playing a threat that can't be exiled or destroyed permanently is really, really powerful for us. So if we're up against someone who's constantly trying to board wipe us, constantly single target removaling all of our creatures, we can put down God-Eternal Oketra. If it gets blown up, we put it third from the top. We'll eventually draw it again. We can then go and play it again, and eventually we can start making 4/4s with it as well. And then finally, we are running a 3rd copy of Realm-Cloaked Giant in the sideboard as a means to just kind of blow up the world, stabilize, and we get to keep all of our giants. Well, guys, that is Mardu Giants. As you saw, we had a really good, fun time with it. Be sure to check back at the channel. We'll actually have those games cut up into a nice format for you so you can see how they went. It's a really, really fun deck to play. If you like kind of like mid-range giants, then this is the deck for you. Again, my name is Debo over at landsego.com. If you liked what you saw, be sure to like, comment, share, subscribe, do all the things. And just remember, we can't do this without you. Hey guys, thanks for watching our content. If you liked our video, you'll probably like these as well. And if you would, please take a moment to like, comment, share, and subscribe. And in the description below, you'll find our TCG affiliate link, where you can buy the cards that you need while also supporting us, Landsego, and our show.